Hello, creators. I'm glad to see you here again. I'm especially pleased that you are still catching on to my videos. Today, I actually want to talk to you about one of my important themes that I come back to time and again when I'm talking with people about creating, and that is the three zones of creation that I've found. And since I am an inveterate cook, I love cooking things. I love seeing what other people cook. I love talking about cooking. So I'm going to use cooking terminology because that's how I came to understand it best myself. So, the three realms of creativity. You have your long term creativity, you have your working creativity, and then you have your spontaneous creativity. And they all serve a different purpose, and here's how I've found them to work. Your long term creativity I think of as a slow cooker. Now, this is where I solve my problems. This is where I get the twists and turns in my story. This is where I find my way out of holes that I've written myself into and corners I've painted myself into. Because with a slow cooker in your kitchen, what you do is you toss all the ingredients into it, you turn it on, and you let it sit for the next 6 hours. Now, the slow cooker of the mind, you don't really have control over when it's finished, which can be very frustrating for some people because that's what's active when you wake up in the middle of the night and you go, that's how I do it, and then you can't remember it in the morning, which is very difficult. But oftentimes you get the exact same thing when you're sitting at work and you're reading an article on your computer because you're bored, and all of a sudden, that's what the trick can be. She's his sister. And that's, where a lot of your great ideas come from. Because by that point, you've added ingredients into the slow cooker. You've added, okay, this doesn't work, but this does work, but I had this idea over here, and this reminds me of another book, and this reminds me of a YouTube video, and it actually all ends up coming around and mixing in your head, and eventually something pops out. So that is the slow cooker of the mind. Long-term creativity. The second one is working creativity. And that's what I call the stovetop. Because here is where you are actively engaged with your story. If you follow my tips and tricks at all, you have a notebook out, and here is where you are writing, okay, and I want the story to take this direction, and I want my character to look like this. The hair is all wrong, but that's close enough. And this is what happened. This is what you're working with when you're actually sitting down and typing, or when you are pen to paper creating. It's just like working on a stovetop. You know the ingredients you have, you know what you're looking for. With a little bit of practice, you even get to what you're aiming for with the meal you are making. So that's the second type of creativity, is working creativity. And then the third kind is spontaneous creativity. And this is the one that gets the most flack and the most difficulty, because this is the one that people think they need in order to be a good writer. You don't. You don't need to have a muse that suddenly comes and kisses you full on the mouth and says, here, I got a story. You will occasionally have that. And with practice, especially with slow cooker practice and stovetop practice, you'll get a lot quicker you will become more inviting and more open to sudden spots of inspiration. These are what I call the microwave, because they're fast and they're simple, and they only do a very simple job, and it comes at you quick. And that's what it's good for. It's good for those moments where you're sitting there typing and all of a sudden, ding! Ooh, that'd be a fun twist. And then you write it in there. Or you're sitting there typing and all of a sudden, like, a fly wanders across your screen and you think, that's the key to it all. A fly wandering across the screen. Or even at advanced stages, after a little bit of practice, you get to the point where you flick on a light switch and you go, oh, that's why he couldn't see her. You become very inviting to new ideas the more you use the microwave. But it's also the one that gives you the least to work with. A microwave can only heat things up. It can't give things a proper sear. It can't necessarily get them organized the way you want them to. It goes in quick, it comes out quick. And that can be great. But you can't subsist on a diet of only microwave meals, and neither can your writing. So you need to put all three into work. Now, when you're like me and you still have a full-time job, you use the slow cooker so much. And you try to have pen and paper ready whenever the microwave dings. And then you maybe only have 1 or 2 hours in the evening to work with your stovetop inspiration. But if you are, I would suppose that if you are a full-time creator, you get to spend more hours working with the stovetop. You get to put more things in more little slow cooker projects all over the place. I have about 70 sitting slow cookers. And then you're also more open to having more of those moments of microwave inspiration. And I would suppose that that's a really good life to live, because I haven't lived it yet. But I still work 40 hours a week, and I put my slow cooker to good use. And when I'm at home, you'll often find me by my computer, spending a little bit of time engaging my stovetop. So those are the three realms of creativity that I've come across. That's how I use them in my own life, and I find that it works very well to think of them in those terms. Because then you put a lot less pressure on yourself to create, and you give your mind a lot more space to work with. Back in the ancient days, they used to call it the muse or the genius. It wasn't something that you had already, that was imprinted inside your brain from the get-go. Your muse was something outside of you that came to you with inspiration and an idea. Same with the genius. It was something that all of a sudden said, that's how it works. So I recommend using these illustrations whenever you think about your writing projects or your creative projects. Sometimes you need to let something sit in the slow cooker until all of a sudden it comes out ready. Sometimes you need to sit down and work on the stovetop, but other times the microwave just goes ding and it's right there. So I hope that this helps you, and I look forward to making more videos talking about my different paths with creativity. Even though I'm not a full-time author, I am a full-time creator, and I do spend all of my days thinking about what's the next stage in a story. And I assure you that you can too. If that is your desire, you can make it work. Here's a couple illustrations to make it a little bit easier on you as you get going. This is Chris Schallert, Idea Engine, encouraging you to take something old and make something new. Peace out.